Okay. Welcome to today's conversation in business admin, and we're looking at the second unit. So the second unit is devoted to the study of the different business enterprises. So basically, we want to introduce you to different business enterprises. Okay, we want to understand the different types of the businesses. Yeah. It is very important for you to understand this unit because all the businesses that we see, they belong to at least one of these enterprises that I'm going to introduce you to. These are the different types of the business enterprises. And so the first business enterprise that we have is called the sole proprietorship. Okay, sole proprietorship. Now, sole proprietorship, it is actually a business that is owned by only one person who provides all the capital needed to set up and manage the organization, and he takes all the profit and the loss from the business. The owner will use his or her labor assisted, sometimes with family members, sometimes with the two or sometimes one worker. Okay. It is normally a small business in size, though it may not always be a small business, right? So the type of the business may involve things like retail trading, builders, hairdressing, radio, television repairs, farming, fishing, consultants, bar, restaurant, hotel, among others. So the key message here is that as long as the sole proprietor is the one who contributed capital alone, then the business stands as a sole proprietor. I should be quick to indicate that the sole proprietorship may grow to an extent whereby the person may start employing other people. Even if the person employs other people, even if they employ many people, as long as they are the only one that form the capital structure of the company, please, the business still remains as a sole proprietorship. Mainly the sources of finance for the sole proprietor may be through selling of personal assets. The sole proprietor may sell land. They may sell buildings, cattle shares held in a company, or including other sources such as borrowing from friends and from family members or borrowing from the bank. So basically, the key message is that the sole proprietor uses his or her own capital to start up this business entity. Right. So now, what are some of the features? What are some of the features of the sole proprietor? So the main features of the sole proprietorship include the following. Number one, it is a business that is owned by only one person who provides all the capital needed to set up and manage it, and takes all the profit as the reward. I should be quick to add that he also takes the losses. It's possible. It is the simplest and most common type of the business enterprise. Now, the owner here uses his or her labor, usually assisted by one or two workers or family members. The business tends to be small, but not always in size. So basically, this is the type of the business system where you just wake up alone, you raise the capital alone, and then you start up the system alone. That is called a sole proprietorship. The person is called the sole proprietor or sole trader, in other words. But sole trader is biased because it's not all about trading. So you can say a sole proprietor, which is one person. This is a person, sole proprietor, but the business is called the sole proprietorship. From what I have just described, do you think there are some advantages of running this business? Of running such an enterprise? You are just alone. What could be some of the advantages? The class is open. The question is sent to the class. What does the class feel?
You don't get to share the money with anyone. So
Wow.
all the profit you make is yours alone.
Okay, thank you. You enjoy the profit alone, right? There are no other people to share the profit with. You just enjoy all the profit. It is an advantage. Thank you so much, Nosiku. What about others? What do you think could be the advantage of this type of the enterprise?
And there is no complication regarding making the decisions.
Wow. So thank you so much for that one. So there are no complications. So we may put it even this way. We may say that at least the decision making is quick, right? Because you don't even need to consult from others. You don't need to wait for others. You know, you are so quick in decision making. Once you make the decision without waiting for others, you execute the decision, right? Any other advantage of being alone? What does the class feel? What is the say of the class on the advantages of this kind of a system? Right. Okay. So the advantages would include the following, in addition to what has already been said. So the business is easy to set up and control and manage. It requires a small amount of capital to set up. As a result, many people are able to run it. The owner makes independent and quick decisions. This has already been said. And the owner has a personal contact with his or her workers as well as the customers. It's one of the advantages. The owner tries to provide his or her customers with personalized services when he is a sole trader. The owner takes all the profit, just as this has been said by someone. The business affairs are kept private except when completing tax returns. Here, you know, because you are not required by law to publish the financial statements when you are a sole trader. Like, it's not like the PLCs, the public limited companies, as you're going to see, yeah, as we keep on holding the conversation. So the owner will be familiar with all aspects of the business, of course. That is what usually happens. Of course, there is some sense of satisfaction that the owner gets for working for themselves. It's one of the advantages. What do you think could be some of the disadvantages here? Are there any disadvantages of being alone?
The stress level is too much.
Wow, thank you. The stress level is too much. Would you amplify that one a bit? All right. Thank you so much. So there is a lot of stress because you are alone. You lack expertise, right? You may not be this person who knows everything. You may not be this person who has everything. Okay. You need other people. Okay. So it is very difficult sometimes to make other decisions or to do other things because you may not have all the skills. You may not have all the knowledge again. So very, very important to work with others. Any other disadvantage of being alone?
It's difficult to run the business when you're sick.
Wow. So when you are sick, it means that even the business is sick. When you sleep, even the business sleeps. If you have not reported at work, the business does not move. So usually, you know, this kind of a business is entirely dependent on you. You need others. Is that clear? Any other disadvantage of a sole proprietor?
Insecurity.
Insecurity. Would you amplify what you mean by that?
Insecurity means if there is a one person, if he dies or if something happened to that
Wow.
person, the whole family can be suffer because of that only.
Okay. So if one dies, then the business dies as well. If the owner dies, even the business does what? Dies. And this is very important to notice. If you want your business to continue living, even in your absence, please reconsider your decision of doing it alone. Okay. You have to make sure you bring others on board and share this vision that you have for this, so that in the times when you will not be there, they should be able to continue carrying and pushing the vision in your honor. Right. Any other disadvantage of running a sole proprietorship? Okay. All right. So the disadvantages of being a sole proprietor include the following. In addition to what has already been said, the personal assets are at risk because the business has no unlimited liabilities. The amplification is that in an event that the sole trader borrows money from any institution or individual, he or she must pay back the whole of its or the whole lot of it. Otherwise, the personal assets will be what? Will be attached and auctioned to raise the money to repay the debt. So here, if you're running the business as a sole proprietor, it means that when in the times when you have a problem, okay, when you are unable to, when you have a problem, maybe you owe the company or you owe some people, what happens is that it may be difficult for you to settle the accounts because you may need to use your personal assets, okay? Because the assets that you have are not highly separated from the assets of the business. There's no clear separation. Now, the business cannot do without the owner. This has already been said. It is more difficult for the sole trader to borrow money than in other forms of the business. Banks and the other money lenders, they find it easy and safe for them to give the money to the other forms of the business, apart from giving to one person, really, because this person can easily go under. Now, the size of the business is usually rather small, and the sole proprietor is self-employed. They may lack expertise, okay? They may lack expertise. The risk of failing is so high when you are working as a sole trader. So basically, this is what we have doing the business as a sole trader. You have seen the advantages and disadvantages. Let's try to lift up the conversation a bit now and look at the other form of the business enterprise, this being the partnerships. The partnerships. Okay. Now, the features of the partnerships would include the following. Okay. Before I come to the features of the partnership, this is where you join, you come together with others, you maybe 2, 3 of you, you bring in your resources, you raise capital together, and you start up this system or this business or this venture. So usually before you start this partnership, you draw up an agreement, or a document that indicates how you're going to run this particular business system. And that agreement form or document that you sign is called a partnership deed. Usually common partnership, they range between 2 people and 20 people. I mean ordinary partnerships between 2 and 20 people. But for other forms of partnership, like professional partnerships, okay? For example, lawyers come together, the doctors come together. They can even be more than 20. You could have 200 engineers come together. You may have doctors, many doctors come together, accountants come together. As long as it has been formed by the professionals, it can have more than 20 people. That's a partnership. So the partnership deed or that agreement, it has got the following components. Number 1, it has the objectives of the partnership, the financial contribution of each partner. It does have the sharing of profits and losses. It has the rights and obligations of each partner. It has the amount of money to be paid as a salary to each partner, and it has the name of the partnership and the treatment of the capital invested. Very important. Those are some of the things that should be there. Don't just wake up and start the partnership without writing down the partnership deed. No, we need this agreement form. Agree, okay, with each other, okay? How much has each one? How much does each one of you has to put in or contribute? What are the rights and obligations of each of one of you in terms of salaries? Okay, how much is entitled for each partner? That is very, very important. The common features of partnerships include the following. It can be formed by between 2 and 20 people, but I've already said that the professional partnerships like lawyers, doctors, engineers can be more than that. The capital of the partnership is raised by contribution of the two partners, okay? In partnership, ownership and control are not separated. Thus, the partners own and they do control the partnership, okay? The same people that own the partnership control it. A partnership has no separate legal entity, and each and every partner is entitled to be involved in the running of the business. As long as you're a partner, you can be involved in the running of the business. This is a bit different from these other systems. Do you think there are some advantages of running such a business system? The question to the class.
Yes, there is.
What are some of the advantages?
Firstly, is division of work pressure and division of work skills. More skilled people can work together.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you for the contribution. Do we have anyone else mentioning something else on the advantages?
Yes, then can have a big capital. Yeah, that's
Right.
what I can say. Yeah.
Yeah, so the size of the capital can be large enough because you have contributed with others, right? You have raised the capital with others. Do we have any other advantage? Advantage of running such a system? Partnership.
Business can get more links to develop the business.
Wow. Thank you very much for that contribution. Do we have any other again? On advantages, we're still on advantages. All right. So the advantages of forming a partnership would include a partnership is easy to set up. It does not involve a long, costly procedure. The division of labor is possible here because you're working with others, okay? More people are involved in the running of this business, and for that reason, you can raise more capital, okay? The expenses and management of the businesses are shared because you are working with others. There is a greater continuity of this partnership than in a sole proprietor, because when you're partners, if one partner dies, then the other one may continue carrying it on, right? And the decision-making is consultative, leading to improved and quality of decisions. Because you're not alone. There is one of the saying that says that the ideas do not lie in one head, right? Like, so you may not have all the ideas, but when you are with others, you're consulting from others, this may lead to the growth of this system. Are there any disadvantages of running a partnership?
Yes, there is.
What are some of the disadvantages then?
There can be conflict of making decisions sometimes in between the partners. It
Wow.
can delay, yeah, it can delay the business decisions and it can delay the business profit also.
All right, thank you. So, you know, when you are with the others, sometimes you may not agree on some matters. This one says this, even this one is saying this, okay? And again, there are some times when you need to make very quick decisions, but because you have to wait for the other party, wait from them, hear what they would say, this may delay the decision-making process. Do I have any other from someone else?
The tax rates are higher when you have a partnership business as compared to a sole trader.
Okay, there are higher taxes, right? You pay taxes, the business pays tax, even you as individuals, you still pay taxes as partners, like using the personal accounts. Okay. Right, so quickly, the following are some of the disadvantages, just as you have indicated. The decisions may be delayed by disagreements among partners. The partners have unlimited liabilities. This we have already indicated. There is lack of sometimes capital that may limit expansion, as it depends on partners for raising capital. Remember, when you're raising capital, you just depend this, like you just use partners. So sometimes what if the partners do not have money? So this may limit you, okay, as partners. When one partner dies or leaves, you need a new partnership, okay? You need to form a new partnership again, okay? So membership in a partnership is limited to 20, except for professional partnerships that you have already heard. Do I have any questions so far? We have talked about the two forms of the business systems. We have talked about sole proprietorship and partnerships. Do I have any question? Assuming the business managers don't have the questions, then we can proceed. We have the third form of, the business system, which is the private limited company. Here you now pay attention. These are a little bit different from from the sole. It's a little bit different from sole proprietorship and partnership. So according to the laws, okay, of any land, the two documents that are, memorandum of understanding and the articles of association have to be combined to create the articles of association. So the promoters of the company should actually submit the articles of association to the registrar of companies. In the context of maybe Zambia, you would say, you have the Parents of Companies Registration Agency, PACRA. I'm sure most of you have heard of PACRA. Yeah. Right? Yeah. The Patent of Companies and Registration Agency, PACRA. So whenever you want to register a limited company, this one is not as very straightforward as I'm not saying it's very complicated. It is very easy, okay? It is very, very easy. But it is not as straightforward as these other forms of the businesses. Because you need, in this one, you need the articles of association, okay? The articles of association, and there are other requirements that you need here. You may not be alone in forming this business. Actually, you don't need to be alone. You need to be with others, at least two people, two or more, that are going to stand as directors, the initial directors of the company, the shareholders of the company. Yeah, then if we had the time, I would have shown you the document itself, like the way how it is. Let's see, maybe next time I'll show you the document, the way how it is. So I have that was other session. I'll show you anyways. Yeah. So you have these, they should be there. So a limited company is a separate legal entity. This one is a separate legal entity, okay? It is an artificial person. It is a person on its own, right? A limited company has power to sue. And again, a limited company can be sued. This you have to understand. Through the company lawyer or through the director, it can sue and it can be sued. A limited company has got its own assets. And once you open a limited company, it means that it has got its own things. So you cannot start using your own things or things that belong to the business to finance this particular business, right? That is what usually happens. So when you're running a separate legal entity, this is what you find. Okay. I may not go in so much details of this, but basically a limited company, it is separate from the owners, okay? The assets that you have, they are free, they are not at risk. Because if this business owes some people, okay, then those debtors will just, those creditors, they will just go and get only what belongs to the company. They may not start coming to your house and start getting your personal assets. No, because the capital is just limited to what has been invested by the owners of the business. Okay, this is a private limited company. I've talked about the articles of association. It has got the following details. The name of the company that has the last word limited, okay? Limited. All limited companies, they have got the last word as limited. Including Amazing Excellence is a limited company. So it has got limited at the end of it all. Amazing Excellence Institute of Technology Limited, right? The American University of Paris Limited. So basically, the limited companies, they end with the
What is happening?
All right. I apologize. I had been logged out by this network. Right. So back in class, I don't know where I ended. Where did I end even? As, it's talking about what? Oh, the articles of association. Okay. Right. So let's continue with the articles of association. So I was talking about the components of the articles of association. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I said that the articles of association has got the rights and the powers of each type of shareholder. It has got the procedure for electing the director. In the articles of association, it should be clear how are you going to be electing the directors, okay? The issue and the transfer or forfeiture of shares. How are you going to be transferring the shares, okay? It should be clear, like the shares, how do you move them from this person to the other person? How are you going to be issuing shares to the others? If you're going to remove some shares from someone, one of the directors, what procedure are you going to be following? The procedure for dealing with any alterations in the amount of capital, it should be clear as well, okay? Even the procedure for distributing profits and carrying out auditing, those things have to be written down in the what? In the articles of association. I'll share with you, so that you may just have a look at what an article of association is like, just to get a glimpse understanding of what it is. That you can read it at your spare time. Yeah. What are some of the characteristics of a private limited company now? Number one, a private limited company is not allowed to sell its shares to the general public unless they approach people individually. You cannot be a shareholder in the private limited company unless they actually approach you. Okay, they don't sell shares, like to the public. The shares for the private limited company are not like for the public limited companies. They are not even listed on, for example, on any stock exchange. In the case of Zambia, you can say Lusaka Stock Exchange. They are not there. In the case of New York, you can the New York Stock Exchange, among others. They are not listed. They are not there. Those companies are not there. Okay, the private limited company. So if you want someone to become a shareholder of the private limited company, you go and approach them. So those companies, like you can never find them at, inviting the public to go and become shareholders. No, those are private limited companies. The shares of a private limited company are not transferable without the agreement of the other shareholders. You can't transfer these shareholders. Like all other shareholders have to sign before you can transfer the shares to this other person. And the shareholders in a private limited company have control over the company. Okay, they have the control over the company. A private limited company is not required by law to publicize its accounts annually. It's not like a public limited company. A private limited company is not required to publicize its accounts. Okay, then the liability of shareholders is limited to the capital that they have invested. At least 2 people and not more than 50 can form a private limited company. Did you get it? Between 2 and not more than 50 again, they can form the private limited company. So a private limited company is usually a small family business, though it is not always small. A private limited company may be giant, more than that. So those that may be interested in the procedure of how to register, the practical one, how to register a private limited company, we may have a further conversation, but I will not dive into those details. It's not really part of this. Yeah, but I just feel that is very important because it's part of the practical skills. So if you want to register the company as a private limited company, you are 2 of you. What do you do? How do you share the roles? Those are the conversations that we can hold. You can always reach out. You can always text the sir. You can always call. We are colleagues. We can still talk. Advantages of a private limited company. It is legally separate entity, very separate from you. It can easily raise more capital by selling shares, though not publicly. The company has, sure continuity. This one we are sure that it's going to continue, because even if one shareholder dies, other shareholders, they can continue pushing it forward. The shareholders have direct control over the company's affairs. So the founders can retain control of the company for the limited company. Just like any other, there are also disadvantages that are involved in running a private limited company. What could be some of the disadvantages? They can include the following. There are too many legal formalities for complying with a limited, for forming a private limited company. It's not, this one is not, I've already said, it's not like a private, a partnership or a sole proprietorship. Like there are legal formalities. It's legal. You have to follow a lot of formalities for you to form this private limited company. Okay. Lack of capital can restrict the growth of a private limited company too. The shares are not freely transferable, as the existing shareholders should approve such. It can be one of the disadvantages. The accounts should be audited annually, hence the need to engage service of the auditors. You have to audit the accounts, right? A private limited company can become huge, right, to an extent whereby it may be difficult for you to check whether the people who are in the finance department, they store the money or what, the investment issues. You need auditors to come in and audit the statements. The company is less flexible when compared to a sole proprietor. This one is not very flexible. It is costly to exercise, okay, to form a limited liability than of a sole proprietor. This one is not very straightforward. Like, again, even the cost of forming this one, you cannot compare it with a sole proprietor. Maybe just for the sake of knowledge, let me ask the class, how much does it cost to register a business, to clear the name of a partnership, just to clear the name at PACRA? Do we have some people that might have ideas? A business manager. Like, how much does it cost? Just to register the name, just to clear the name, okay, just to clear the name.
I'm not sure if it's 185 or 85 kwacha.
What about registering? Okay. All right. So just clearing the name is 83 kwacha. Like if you quote Zambian currency, in the case of Zambia, it's just 83 kwacha to clear the, very cheap. I mean, for sole proprietorship, it's not very complicated. 83 kwacha, children of God. And then to register that business should be 180 something, I think. It's not more than 300 kwacha to clear the name and register. It's sole proprietorship. Yeah, it's not very complicated. But for a limited company, yeah, it's a bit higher than that. Because to clear the name of a limited company, as of last week, it's 90 kwacha to clear the name. Then to register is 2,100 kwacha just to register the name. 2001. You may compare 2,000 and just what's this? And just a 100 something. You know, you can see even the difference, and even the requirement, the capital requirement for a limited company is a lot of capital that is required. You know, The share capital certificate should have at least it should indicate a big amount of money, like that's your capital. Your capital. You may not just go there and say you have maybe a 5,000 kwacha to do what? To start up. No. Like you need at least a good amount of money. What I mean by good amount of money, like it should be a minimum. Okay, for a private limited company, the company that is limited by shares, if I haven't forgotten, it should be a minimum of 15. Yeah, a minimum of 15. Then the other that are limited, that are not private limited, okay, they go upward up to somewhere 1 million. So they are different anyways. Yeah, let me not go in those details, but basically this is what is there about the private limited company. Right. You've gotten an idea about a private limited company. Allow me to present because of the time. Then we have what we call the public limited companies. These are a little bit different from the private limited company. They are usually quoted. In case of Zambia, and they are listed on Lusaka Stock Exchange. Okay, so it means that these companies, they can even sell shares to the public. Anyone can wake up today and become a shareholder in public limited companies. Okay, you can go and buy shares even tomorrow and become a shareholder. Do you know any examples of the PLCs in Zambia, for example? Give me the public limited companies that you know, those that are listed on the stock exchange. Hello? Which companies can you wake up tomorrow and become a shareholder if you have the money? A business manager. Like, just mention any companies that you think you can become a shareholder tomorrow or today. Okay. There are many of them. One of them that,
Like
yes, go ahead.
Jesco?
Yes. What else? Okay. You can have examples of ShopRite. You know that you can become a shareholder tomorrow in ShopRite. ShopRite, Zanaco. You can become a shareholder in Zanaco tomorrow. Bata. After Bata, there's what? Okay, there are many of them, including Airtel. You can become a shareholder in Airtel, like the Copperbelt Energy Corporation, Zambia Sugar, Pamoza Hotel, Taj, Standard Chartered Bank, First National Bank, FNB. Okay. Okay, there are many. In short, there are just many companies where you can become a shareholder even tomorrow. It's only that the procedure on how to go about it is not part of this conversation. Yeah, but if you're interested in the procedure, we can still arrange another conversation where I can run you through the steps that you have to take. If you wanted to become a shareholder for ShopRite tomorrow, what you have to do, like right now, the practical steps that you have to take. All right, that's about the public limited companies. You can read through them, and the advantages of forming them is that the company is also a separate legal entity, and its shares are freely transferable on the stock exchange. Okay, it has got the surety of continuity. This can continue without ending, even when someone dies. It can easily borrow money from banks and from other financial institutions. The public limited companies are giant. They can borrow money from the banks, and they can employ the specialists in different fields, such as marketing, accountants, human resource management, among others. They have the money, so they can hire people to run their business. The disadvantages would include, it is very expensive. It is expensive to form. This one is not actually like a limited company as well. It's a bit higher in terms of the costs that you have to incur, just the registration process, among others. It has to comply with many regulations that are set to protect the employers, the employees, and other stakeholders. It has got a lot of rules. Raising capital tends to be very expensive. It may grow and become too large and very difficult to manage. This one, because anyone can just walk in and become a shareholder. So it may grow too big or too much, such that it may be very difficult for others to handle. Okay, the decision-making process tends to be delayed because, there is a lot of bureaucracy. You have to consult so many people. There are a lot of boards, okay, and many people to be consulted for you to make the decisions. That's about the public limited companies. Then you also have got the other group of the companies that we call the cooperatives. Yeah, in the last few minutes that have remained, the cooperatives. Yeah. Now, the cooperatives, they have the following features. Okay. The members or the owners are people who have bought shares in the society, and they are also the main customers for the cooperative. A maximum amount of shares is set as an individual shareholding. This one, for the cooperative, like you cannot have whatever number of shares that you want. It's not like in a public limited company. Here you can just have any number, like you can have a limited number. There is a limited number, okay, the amount of shares that you can buy. And the members have at least one vote, irrespective of the number of shares that they have, okay? Yeah, basically that is what happens. And the disadvantage would include, the disadvantages thereof would include the stores being inefficient because, the issuing of the dividend stamps is a slow process and it involves a lot of paperwork, among others. So basically, this is about the societies and the other business systems.